Good evening, Saturday evening, wherever you're watching from. My name is Liquiani Eli, and of course, the program tonight is a special weekend edition where we focus on Martha's family. Do join me and the rest of the panelists, including Nyokabi Kamau. Good evening, Nyokabi.
Good evening, Lukiani. How are you?
Great. Good to see you
Yes,
again.
good to see you too.
I think we should make this everyday thing. Then I'm
Ye-
much excited to meet nice people online.
yes, we should. We should make it an everyday thing.
Great. So before we even introduce, I have a gentleman on board, and his name is Hasbon. Good evening, Hasbon.
Good evening, Ellie.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How have you been?
I am great and good to see you. I mean, it's a small world thanks to internet.
Yep.
So, gentlemen and lady on board, tonight we want to discuss matters family, and in this case, blended families. To put it into perspective, what is a blended family? Nyokabi Kamau.
A blended family is a family where two people have come from different relationships and they come together to form another new relationship. What I mean is maybe the woman was married before and they have either divorced or they have experienced separation of any kind, either through death or through divorce. And the man also is coming from another relationship and through the same circumstances, and they meet and they form a family. That's a blended family. And it can include or exclude children, one or two children, or the number of children that each person might have. So it can include or exclude children.
Yes, Hasbun, what do you think? What is a blended family in your?
I do agree with Nyokabi. Just to put it into perspective, 48% of all first marriages end in divorce. Okay? And then 79% of women and 89% of men usually have that opportunity to go and remarry. 68% of these remarriages always include kids. So here we come. We have a relationship or a marriage whereby the couples or the partners joining into that marriage are coming in with kids. So here we come with a family unit where one or both parents have children from previous relationships and have come to combine into a new family. Here, that's what we can define to be a blended family. Most will call it a blended family as a step family or a complex family.
Thank you, Hesbon. And why is
Okay.
it now very interesting to actually discuss this matter, blended family? I want to come back to you, Hesbon, because we've heard of celebrities and people like that. I mean, what do you think about that? Why is it important to discuss it?
Yeah, it's very important. Looking at the current development, the current US President, Joe Biden, is in a blended family. Looking at the current Vice President of of US, Kamala Harris, is in a blended family. So if we are to consider a few celebrities, for example, if we look at the French president, Nicolas Sarkozy, he came into a marriage with kids. And here we are seeing another blended family. Even if we are to consider local, there are most of our celebrities local. If we are to consider Embakasi MP Babowino in a blended family, famous musician Bahati, blended family, King Kaka, blended family. If you look at all these celebrities, we have blended families. So a blended family has become the current unit of family. If we talk of the types of family, we have the traditional family, and then there's this new type of family coming in to be a blended family. So it should be interesting to note that any family or any marriage that is occurring in the current generation, we have that opportunity of it either being a marriage where kids are involved from previous relationships or previous marriages. So we have blended families being the current unit of marriage.
Thank you, Hesbon. And allow me to bring back the relationship coach, Nyokabi. Nyokabi,
Yes,
when
please.
we are discussing these matters, I know you are raising your eyes and ears because you're supposed to be coaching people on how to keep relationships. 48% of divorces, I mean, And I don't want us to dwell so much on divorce because we have to concentrate on the topic subject matter rather. But does that also raise an alarm and actually create reasons why we should discuss blended families?
Yes, 48% is a big number. I will not dispute with you that 48 is quite a huge number. But then again, that's the families that end up in divorce. These are relationships that are founded on the wrong foundations. These are relationships that goalposts shift inside the relationship. These are relationships of people who are not fully committed to the relationship. One party is not, the other party is. And these are relationships of people who just don't want to do the hard work. Right, Ellie? Because relationships are hard work, whether they are romantic relationships, they are business relationships, they are relative or blood relationships, all relationships are hard work. So it is alarming at how much people are separating and divorcing, because people have started taking relationship to be just, people don't take the value and the vice that was there before. And when us we were growing up, separation, our parents never used to separate. They never used to go separate ways because it was a taboo, it was forbidden, it was unacceptable. In fact, in my Kikuyu tradition, if a man decided to take us another wife, he was not allowed to leave his first wife. He could take another wife but still maintain his first wife as his wife. So there wasn't so much of breakups that are there that we are seeing today. Hence the need for blended families, because everybody is separating, everybody is going their way. But what surprises me, Ellie, is you'll come out of a nuclear family, which is husband, wife, and the children. That's a nuclear family. To join into a blended family that requires more energy, more effort, more commitment to actually keep the relationship working than a nuclear family needs, and you still walk away from it because something is missing, right? Relationships are lacking a few things that are making people just want to walk away and to give up of the relationship. So that 48% is quite a big percentage. It's quite a big percentage, and it is quite alarming, Ellie. I agree with you.
Thank you, Nyogabi. And growing up and going to school, we used to be told you have to work at an academic angle. But more and more it's becoming, when you go into relationships, you have to work at a baby mama or baby daddy angle. So fact is, when these blended families have to be formed, and that's why it's called blended, there are children involved. So how do we start our relationships that will lead into a family unit that is now blended? Hesbon.
To start a blended family, there are a few things we need to understand. One thing we have to understand, for this blended family to fully integrate and become one unit, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot from the both the parties, the couple, and the children being involved. So one thing we need to understand, you need to have a plan, have a vision, have a family plan on what you're going to do into the relationship. You need to have what we call a scheduled time for the relationship. You need to have a scheduled time for the kids. You need to have something that you are going to work through, something that you have already planned out, a vision of. If you are talking of kids, are you going to have more kids, or are the kids that are being involved enough for the relationship? Are you going to raise kids? When you're talking of kids, we are talking of age. What are the ages of these kids? When you're talking about the ages of this kid, we are coming from previous relationship. We have the ex fiance or ex partner. Are they being involved in this relationship? Are they part of the relationship that this kid was formed? When you're bringing the kid from a previous relationship into a new relationship, maybe this kid had already formed a bonding relationship with the ex, and now the relationship could not work, and we are having a new relationship being formed. We need to understand. We need to be able to explain to this kid the current situation and how it's going to work. We also need to build a joint vision for the new family. Like when we're moving in, are we going to move into a new house? Are we going to move into the house of one of the partner, or how is it going to be? We need to know your partner and to know the children. Like when you're coming in with the kids, does this partner feel comfortable interacting with this kid? Does this kid feel comfortable interacting with the new partner? You also need to understand the needs of the kid. Like this kid, we have medical insurance, we have life insurance, we have education policies that maybe the previous partner had already secured for this kid. We also need to understand that. So when we talk of starting a blended family, there are a lot of complexity that are involved, and we are here to discuss that and to be able to explain and make our viewers understand that starting a blended family is not an easy task. And once we are able to achieve the end product, it comes out to be a very beautiful thing. And for the well-being of these kids, the kids are being able to rest in a more structured way for the family. Because if we are to consider like single parentage, this kid might be missing one of the parents. But when we come in and we form a blended family, this kid has an opportunity to be able to interact with the new parent as a role model, be able to look up to the new parent as a role model. We also we are building new relationship. This kid is building new relationship and understanding how to interact with members of the family at a different level. Ellie.
Thank you, Esbon. What I can read from everything you're saying is this: the chance and possibility that actually with a blended family, things can work out. However, there's an interesting point to it, which is children. And we are talking about orienting this family into a new family. Kindly let us note that it's not just about even divorced partners. We have partners that have lost their spouse in a previous relationship. So, Nyokabi, how do you prepare these children and partners into a new relationship? Where is the starting point?
The starting point is to first of all acknowledge that it's very easy to overshadow these children. It's very easy to not give these children an opportunity to voice their perspective or to voice how that relationship is going to affect them. It's very easy as parents to just assume that children are easy to adapt. They'll just adapt and move with the flow. It's very easy to just neglect the feelings of these children. So the first thing that you need to do is to have conversations with these children. Sit your child down and find out, how do they feel about you remarrying, depending on the age of this child. And when I say depending on the age of this child, I mean a child of 5 years already knows that there's a particular uncle that keeps visiting, or there's a particular auntie that's always at home. So this child is aware that you have a unique relationship with this particular person. So it's important that you sit this child down and you ask them, how do you feel about this particular person? And it's good that also this child understands why you're inviting a new person into their family. And the other thing that I would like to say is that let parents not insist that now this is not going to be your auntie, she's going to be your mom, or you have to refer to this person as your dad. Let this person make an effort to earn the right from this child to be called mom and to be called dad. Don't impose these names on this person, because sometimes in the case of death, because separation because of death, this child probably has not adjusted, has not gone through the process of grief, has not come to terms with the fact that they have lost their parent, or their parent is no longer there with them, and all of a sudden you're bringing this new person and you're forcing the child to call this person mom or dad or the parent that they lost, without considering their feelings about it. Now, I feel that the person who is coming into that family, they need to earn their right to be called mom and dad. This mom or dad should come from the child and should not be imposed by the partner, by the equal partner who wants the relationship. So it's good to consider the children and to put the children in thought, because these children might lose their thoughts. Ask them, how do you feel about having a new sister? What does it mean for you? Where does it leave you as my child? You're going to bring in another person who is going to be disciplining me as your child. How are we going to go about it? You're going to bring in a new person who has a voice over where I go to school, what I wear, which church I go to. You see, you're really affecting this child. But because you're a grown-up, you feel you don't owe this child an explanation, and you don't need to inform them of the decisions that you're making. But it's paramount and it's very important that you take the feelings of this child into consideration, because they will determine the growth of this child. They will determine how quickly or how slowly they will adapt to the new setting of the family. They will also determine how they will embrace the person that you're bringing in. And then before you can actually come to the level where you're now getting into the family, you're starting to live together, you're starting to make decisions together as a couple, allow this person who is coming from the outside to interact with your children. Independent of the force of this relationship is going to be romantic, this relationship is going to be a marriage, and allow the children to have a voice about it. Let them tell you, Dad, I don't like that lady because of 1, 2, 3 things. They make me feel like this. When you're not around, they treat me like this. When you're not around, they tell me this. Secure the life of that child with you before you can invite a third party in them. Ensure that your relationship with them is safe and is secure, because the challenge with children and blended families is that children are the ones who suffer. Children are the ones who are left without a voice. Children are the ones who are left in the middle of a tug of war that they don't know what's happening. You know, children are the ones who have to adapt to a new bass. They have to adapt to a new soprano. They have to adapt to a new way of life. Like now, for example, Ellie, when I'm dealing with my children, I deal with them in a very unique way. If another woman was to come into the life of my husband, they'll come with their own unique way of dealing with things. For instance, if I bring up my children, I don't force them to do utensils, but I've taught them how to be responsible by making them to take care of their own items. They take care of their toys, they take care of their own shoes, they take care of their own things, but they never go to the kitchen to clean after the entire family. Then a new mother comes in, and now their way of teaching you responsibility is to force you to clean after the entire family. They expect you to wake up and to go wash the dishes immediately after dinner. So you see, these are things that you need to communicate with these children so that they know your intention is not to hurt them. Your intention is not to abuse them. Your intention is not to put them in an awkward position, but it is your way of life that they need to understand that way of life and adapt to it, and slowly give them time to adapt to your way of life, to not miss the way their mother used to do or the way their father used to do. You know, people are different. You can see there are men who are present in the lives of their children. There are men who like to engage with their kids. They go out riding bicycles with them. They play football with them. And then you're getting married to this guy who does not even want to hear a child talking in the house. You know, it's loud, it's noisy. So immediately the child comes running with, daddy, can you go with the bicycle? He's looking at the baby like, where? You know, so you need to have these conversations with these children and prepare them and let them know this partner is not the same as the previous partner. It will take you some time to learn this partner. It will take you some time to adapt to their way, but give it a chance. So it's important that families that are getting into blended families realize the importance of also involving the children and orienting the children into that family and what is expected of them and what they are going to get, or what securities do they have and what insecurities do they have.
Awesome. And I think you've laid a very, very wide background for everybody that is watching. And if remember to share this cast, invite a friend, because these are discussions we need to have, because this is what is happening in our families today. And somebody here making a very interesting joke, and I like it, Wamboi Gitao engaging, as I say, Likuyani, this topic is hitting on me. And I like that, because we can tell people are here and they relate with what we are talking about. Thank you, Wamboi Gitao, for your contribution. For the rest of you, continue sharing the cast. Remember, we are discussing blended families, and right now we are looking at orientation of a blended family. Nyokabi mentioned something about age.
Yes.
And Hezbon, when you have children from your previous relationship, is it important to consider their age, your age, versus the new partner you are going to be together in a relationship? And why is it important? Hezbon. Okay, take that again.
Sorry, I'm saying it's very, very important to consider age of the kids while going into what we call a blended family. Number one, kids at 18 years of age and above are considered adults, and they can make their own decisions. Kids at ages 1 to 9 are sometimes left to the parents to make their decisions. So you find that it is important for the couple to consider the age of the kids. Number one, the documentation of these kids. Are they on the previous parent or the current parent? We have birth certificates. We have documentation that involve this kid. These are very important. Number two, this kid, have they bonded with the previous partner? Some move into blended families with young kids who at an age where you can say they are not really at that cognitive age to determine who is the dad and who is the mom. Although some kids do that at a very young age. But at that age, has this kid been able to bond with the parent, or rather the other parent? It's also important to consider at the adoptive age, because they normally say for you to be able to adopt a kid, the kid must be twice, the parent must be twice the age of the kid. We also have to consider the age and sex of the kid. When some kids grow, they grow when kids grow, they grow getting attached to maybe one parent or the other parent. So you'll find some kids will find it easier to bond with the male parents, and some kids will find it easier to bond with the female parent. So if we are considering age before getting into a blended family, it might be very important to consider that this kid had a previous parent. Okay, Ellie?
Thank you,
Ellie
husband. Thank you, husband. No, Ellie is here. Ellie is just trying to make sure that everybody is comfortable. Don't worry about that. So the thing is, even as we consider the age and everything, there is always something that comes into play, and that is competition. And that is why blended families have a unique sort of challenge. Relationship coach Nyokabi,
Yes.
you have a situation whereby I am marrying somebody with my children. I'm the lady here. My firstborn is an 18-year-old daughter, and your firstborn is a 10-year son. I am only but 30, and you, as my new partner, who is the lady, you're 45 almost. Then there is jealousy that the now starts in between the relationship between the step-up father and the daughter that you have.
Yes.
Are these things we have to consider?
Yes, because there's a possibility of a romantic relationship developing between the two of them. And you know, these are some of the things that people are afraid to admit and to have conversations about. When you marry a younger man and your daughter is a teenager, or they are at that prime age where they are feeling younger, they are more likely to develop a romantic relationship than when you marry somebody who is older. But I'm not saying that there are couples who, when we come into a blended family, guidelines or boundaries are very important to set, right, between the two. And that's why we say it's very important for the orientation of the children to this particular partner. This partner is coming into this family as who? Which role are they going to be playing? How are you expected to relate with them? Those boundaries are very important to be discussed. How are we going to share you as parents? How is it going to affect me as your child? Because see, in that kind of a scenario, and we have scenarios such as those that have happened into this country, where somebody got into a blended family, fell in love with the daughter of the person they had married, and even divorced. And that person is a pastor, by the way. I'm just quite shy. I'm not like Esbon, who is able to say people's names. He is a pastor, and he leaves the mother and marries the daughter. In this country, it happened, and they have a relationship with the daughter to date, and they even have a marriage, and they went ahead and got children, you know. So that is a possibility, and it's a risk that's there that needs to be addressed at the beginning of that relationship. That's why it's very important that when you're considering a partner to bring into the blended family, you're considering what type of a person are they, how old are they, how are they going to affect my children? If they come into this family, how are they going to relate with my daughter? How are they going to relate with my son? And it is possible, it can also go the other way around. You know, I bring in a lady, you know, and I'm a man, and then my son thinks, hi. So, and it happens. We've seen it happening in our country today, where a son takes a wife away from his father, because that is the world we are living in. If we are not careful in setting the boundaries at the point of introduction, at the point of bringing these two families together, it is important not to ignore anything. It is important to have family therapy together. It is important to sit down together with a professional and discuss matters, relationship, matters, romance, matters, relationship etiquette, matters, you know, boundaries, matters, father-mother relationships. All those relationships need to be discussed within the perimeters of a professional, within the perimeters of a family unit, to avoid some of these things. And if your daughter comes to you and tells you, you know what, mom, your boyfriend has been looking at me funny, don't jump on their face like, you know, you are the one who walks around here slaying with your slay skirts and what. Be attentive. Sit down and listen to your daughter and actually take it into consideration that maybe she might be telling you the truth. Take that into consideration and sit down, because before this relationship develops and it becomes an actual romantic relationship, palipo na moto hapakosi moshi. you will have seen the signs. And if you address it in good time and you put a stop to wait, we will be able to help the relationship and salvage the relationship. Lukiani.
Great contribution there. And back to you, Hesbon. We have seen how if these things are done correctly, then they can create a conducive environment for everybody to thrive. And that's why we are talking about blended family. And at this stage, it's orientation of a orientation of a blended family. This happens a lot
Banana.
when you share a plate with banana country or people from Minji. So anyway, back to matters that really matter. Hesbon,
Yes.
You have created a relationship with your new partner and things have started off, but you have to take care of the children that come in this family. We want to discuss how then do we set the punishments and rewarding of children of your spouse and your own children without looking like you are stepping on their toes?
Ellie, when we are forming blended families, it is also important at that point of integration, we consider something we call parenting styles. Because these kids are coming in from different parenting styles. You need to sit down with your partner and agree, be able to understand that this kid has been raised on a different parenting style and is coming into a different parenting style. So you need to agree and form a unified parenting style for the two, to be able to have a unified mode of punishment, a unified mode of reward. And at the bottom line, we need to understand that the basic thing to be able to raise these kids correctly in a unified family is the word love. We need to have love. The couples that are the parents that are involved in raising these kids need to have love unto themselves, because these kids, while they're in that family, they are looking upon the parents. They're watching the parents, how the parents relating to each other. If the parents are arguing in front of the kids, these kids will feel uncomfortable in this kind of setting. These kids will feel like they left a loving parent to come into what you call a hostile environment. These kids want to be able to integrate well with each other. And when you are rewarding and punishing these kids, you need to have what we call fairness. When you punish a kid, you should have set ground rules of punishment and reward. When a kid does something well, you need to reward him accordingly, and you should be fair across all the kids. You are not supposed to have what you call favoritism. For example, my side of the kid, you have you favor them more in regard to the other. You need to be fair. And the bottom line we are discussing is the kids need to see love amongst the parents. Once you treat your partner with love, the kids will be able to understand. The kid will be able to appreciate the fact that they are in a loving environment. So you need also to have that aspect of getting the excess out of the discussion, because a kid will consider the previous parent to have treated them better than the current parent. So if we are able to understand and be able to create a barrier between the exes, when the ex comes in, we have that aspect of Ellie. Yes, yeah.
You know,
you have competition, and I know you want to bring in your point and your Kabi. Please do not forget that point, because at this juncture, I want us to take a very quick commercial break, and when we come back, we want to bring in our viewers so that we can get their experiences. In case you have a comment and you want to bring it live on camera, please send me on the comment section, and I'll send you the link to join the cast. But hold that thought, Nyokabi. We'll be right back after this. Remember, you are watching. This is a special edition of the Saturday, and we are focusing on family. And under family, we are looking at a blended family. At this juncture, we are doing the orientation of a blended family. With me in studio is Nyokabi Kamau, and of course, Hesbon Omungala. And I'm your host, Likuyani Elir. This is The Real Deal. I'm Anam Nagan. We'll be right back after a short break.
There will be other competing outside factors that will affect your relationship. Like you have an issue with your partner, the first thing you do, you run to your friends, you run to your sisters, you run to your peers to get advice.
We have weak men out there, and there are men who are weak in all areas. So probably talking to somebody else about your sexual experiences in bed might have been their way of getting the other woman. I don't know. So I will not sit and defend that.
Masculinity is the nature of a man. Do we create nature?
Even as we say that the boy child is under siege, we need to ask ourselves, how have we brought up this boy child that we're talking about? Is it the Kababa generation? As long as it's the Kababa generation, we will always have problems.
Kabi Kamau tells me it is the Victoria Falls secrets.
If you have not invested in a proper sexual toy, please do not improvise.
You never know, because at the end of the day, it's about making the fingers do the walking. Sorry, is it the talking?
It's the walking.
So I'll talk on behalf of the girls who are in the rural Kakamega, who don't know what it is, and they go to church and they are told this is a sin.
Most funny thing about sex is the one thing that you're taught not to do since you're a small girl, and then when you get married, everybody is telling you, go ahead and do that bad thing.
Indeed, this is Likuyani Eli, and in case you're joining us tonight, we have a special Saturday edition where we are focusing on family matters, and in this case, blended family. In studio, I have Nyokabi Kamau, relationship expert, and of course, coach. Good evening, Nyokabi.
Good evening, Lukuyani.
Karibu tena, karibu tena. Now, there's also this gentleman, Hesbon Omungala. Good evening, Hesbon.
Good evening, Eli.
Umekunywa maji? Sio ile ingine. So, before we interrupted, Nyokabi, she wanted to bring in a good point. Sorry, Nyokabi, do you still need some time to clear your throat?
1 minute.
Okay, great. You know, sometimes watu walikuwa wamekunywa maji huko nyuma wamejisahau. You know, there's a lot of juice that is going around, and I didn't pay for the floor manager to do that, but I think she's been able to settle that. So, Hesbon, you mentioned very interesting points about punishment and negotiations and baby daddy or baby mama involvement in relationships. So you want to be part of this cast, send me a text on this link and I'll send you the live link to be able to join us and give your contribution. So back to you, Nyokabi, and I hope you can be able now to bring your point out.
Thank you, Lukuyani. I'm telling you, my friends, I have a cold now, and it's not corona. What was in Yanzie? Okay. It's the current weather. Now, there's something Hesbon was talking about exes when it comes to blended families. At the beginning of this session, we said that we don't want the new partner to replace the old partner, whether in the case of death or in the case of separation and divorce. We want these children to still have access to their biological mothers, to have access to their biological fathers. Because as much as your partner is important to you, and as much as they are playing a very key role to you, really, 1 minute.
We will allow Nyokabi to settle off and clear her throat, because these are points that need to be made. And as she was handling that, I want to ask you, Hesbon, in case there is a relationship that went bad and you want to involve the ex into the relationship, then you have to draw some lines, right? But what if the ex is constantly part and parcel of the relationship? How then do you deal with that?
Eli, before you go into a blended family, you need to have boundaries. You need to have rules. You need to have set down rules of engagement. When you go into a blended family, you have a previous marriage or a previous relationship. And in that previous relationship, there was a parent to this kid. That parent does not cease to be a parent to the kid, but you need to set up clear set rules. You need to explain to these kids what is going on and the regulations and rules. If this parent is allowed visitation, the visitation should occur in a special manner. For example, you are not supposed to allow the ex to come into the house. If the ex has a visitation right, the kid is supposed to be delivered at a neutral ground and be allowed to the parent. At that point where the ex comes into the family, you might have what you call altercation or an argument. And this argument is occurring in front of the kid. And this one is affecting the kid emotionally. So if either of the parent has visitation, right, the visitation should be delivered, the kid should be delivered at a central location away from the home of this kid. Okay, Eli?
Nyokabe, are we good? Okay, you've been laughing a lot, and I hope now you can be able to put across your message. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, I'm hoping I can be able to put across my point. Ellie, you know I have been suffering from a cold. Now, I was disputing with what Hesbon was talking about exes. You know, with blended families, that is the uniqueness and the challenges of a blended family, because you have to consider the two units and bring the two units together. The two units of the previous relationship and the new relationship. And again, we are saying that the people who suffer the most in blended families are the children. If we are not careful and we are not concerned about the state of these children, their emotional state, their mental state, how these changes are affecting them, then what we are doing is we are creating a dysfunctional generation who don't know how a family unit should operate. So it's very important that all those families and all those parents that are involved, all those mature parties that are involved, they come to an understanding on how they are going to relate with the children. And again, we mentioned earlier on, Ellie, that we are not looking to replace the biological parents of this child. Because as an outsider, I can guarantee you, nobody can love my children the way I love them. And I cannot be able to love somebody else's children the way I would love my own. It's good to be human. It's good to be real. It's good to be true. As much as this person might love you, or they might care about you, or they might value you as a person, there is a level of connection that they can never get with your children, because they are not their own children. So it's important that we always have this at the back of our mind. This is not to be ignorant to the fact that they are partners that are just a new site. You see, that's why you've divorced them, or that's why you've separated with them, because there's an aspect of them that you just can't bear and you can't keep with in the relationship. And that's what Hesbon is talking about, setting up proper boundaries and reinforcing those boundaries, because you can set the boundaries and not reinforce them. So I think it's important for the two units to come together and have conversations, because one can decide to just be a nuisance to Koinje. When they come and pick the child, they go to find out details. Oh, what is your father doing now? What does that woman make you do? What do they do for you? You know, go and say you don't want to do this. This is not the way you are brought up, you know. So it's important for the two units to come together and have conversation. And I want to mention something. You are talking about punishing and rewarding. Ellie, we don't punish children. We discipline children. There's a difference. Okay? We punish criminals. We punish offenders. We punish people who commit heinous crimes. But children, we discipline. And discipline simply means we correct the behavior. And correcting the behavior means that as a parent, you're not angry, you're not upset, you're not taking out your frustration on the child. What you're doing is that you're correcting the behavior of this child. And that is what is termed as disciplining. When you talk about punishing a child, then you're not disciplining them. What you're doing is that you're breaking their spirit. All right? So as a parent, is both parties understand that. It doesn't matter who is disciplining the child, so long as the communication between the two of you is to correct the behavior. And what do I mean by correcting the behavior? Ellie, I'm beating you because you picked up my phone, and you're not allowed to pick up the phone. And within the social cues or the social ethics, the agreement that is there, the social life, that one is wrong and it's unacceptable and you shouldn't do it. That is discipline. You correct the behavior. You beat the behavior and not the child. But when it comes to punishment, you're attacking the person. I'm punishing you because you did 1, 2, 3 things, right? And where we see punishment is in the book of God. God is the one who punishes. And when he punishes a generation after a generation. So he's not going after the person, he's not going after the behavior, he's going after the person. And that's why it comes from the first generation to the second generation to the third generation. That is punishment.
And
So
here I was thinking that I'm created in God's own image, so I should do godly duties to punish.
Do not punish. It is not your place to punish. It is God who punishes, and the law punishes, because the law holds you account to your actions, right? It calls you to justice. Therefore, justice equals punishment. The crime befits the punishment. But when it comes to children, we discipline children. We correct the behavior. What they have done is wrong, it's unacceptable, and that's what we beat. Wherever usirudi kufanya hivyo, it's unacceptable. So either parent can be able to handle the parent if there is that kind of an understanding, and both parents understand the difference between punishing and correcting.
Great. Let us just involve our audiences more into this. And yes, we have talked about punishment. Are you in a blended relationship or family? How do you discipline your children? And do you have challenges disciplining your children because your partner feels as though this is being geared towards them? I have a guest in studio, and let me invite her in. Zena Hussein, good evening. And if you can hear me, karibu sana. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing well. Now, Zena, you're coming to us from Saudi, and we're discussing about blended families. We are talking about now punishment. What is your view about blended relationships or families, and how do you deal with children in discipline matters?
Acha nianze na vile mimi napenda kuongea Kiswahili.
Unaona Mswahili, wewe ni Mkenya, ongea tutakusikia. Kidogo weka kamera tukuone vizuri. Hatukuoni kabisa.
Kamera horizontal.
Okay.
For now it's okay, let her do it.
Hivyo iko sawa?
Ni sawa. Sasa tukusikie, endelea.
Kwanza niseme vile dada amesema
Nyokabi.
Aitana ni Nyokabi ama Nyokabi.
Nyokabi.
Amesema vizuri. Unaona mtoto haninino, yani huwezi ukampunish mtoto. Punishment inapeanwa kwa nini? Kwa wale ma criminals wale wa nje, lakini mtoto wa ndani unamfanya nini? Unamtia adabu, unamfunza adabu.
Yes.
Mtoto anapokosa lazima nyote kama wazazi, akikushinda upande mmoja, muite mzazi mwenzako, mfanye nini? Mketi chini, muelewane. Huyu mtoto nitakana afanye nini? Apatiwe adhabu gani? Afunzwe hivi na vile na vile.
Lakini ukumbuke kwamba huyu si mtoto wa mzazi ambaye amemzaa kimaumbile ama kwa mambo kama hayo. Ni mzazi mwenza ambaye ametoka katika uhusiano mwingine. Utafanyaje ili kuhakikisha kwamba hukai ni kama unakaidi kwa kumpa adhabu ambayo ama kumtoa ule ukaidi ambao umemuingia?
Kuna ile njia, utamuita mtoto, keti na mtoto chini. Yani immediately amefanya yale makosa, usingoje ati kesho yake ndo ufanye nini? Ndo umwambie kesho yake. Maana ukisubiri mpaka kesho yake atakuchukulia ni kama unafanya nini? Ni kama wanasemaje vile? Ni kama unamuonea. Yeah. Unamuonea lakini subiri saa zile amefanya yale makosa. Mwambie, mwanangu, mimi hapa na hapa na hapo mfanya nini? Umekosea, hujafanya vizuri. Jaribu kesho usifanye nini? Usirudie lile kosa. Ikifika tena after some days ukiona amerudia yale makosa, for example kama ni mimi, nitaketi na mume chini, nimwambie mume wangu, huyu mtoto wetu amefanya hivi na hivi na hivi. Nimejaribu kuongea naye lakini afanye nini? Hanisikii. Sasa hapo ndo mtafanya nini? Mtaamua kitu cha kufanya. Itabidi mmemkalisha yule mtoto chini, mueleze, unajua hapa na hapa hujafanya vizuri. Hapa na hapo mfanya nini? Umekosa. Na kitu cha pili, mimi huambia wanawake, ukitaka kuolewa kwenye familia ambayo kwamba mwanamke ama mwanamume ana watoto, usiende kwenye ile familia yenye watoto wakubwa ambao kwamba wanakuzidi umri ama labda unawazidi kidogo. Unaona, itakuwa ni ngumu kuhandle nao, itakuwa ni ngumu sana kudeal na wao. Tafuta mwanamume ama mwanamke mwenye watoto wadogo, mtoto kitu kama miaka, yani from 0 to kitu kama 12 years hapo, unajua hapo inaeleweka kidogo. Lakini mtoto akishafika kitu 14 15 huko, hao ni watu yani hao ni wenye ambao kwamba washafanya nini, washaanza kuingia nahitaji ile
adolescence,
washaanza kukomaa
ballet,
washa balere wale. Na katika
so,
ile
wacha kidogo tu nimuitishe Nyokabi, and allow me to switch into English so that we can involve everybody. She's talked about punishment, rather discipline, and you equally said that. But what happens, Hesbon, when a child tells you, you are not my mother, or neither are you my father, so you cannot punish me, because now they realize you are another, step-up parent or stepfather. How do you deal with that?
Hesbon, go ahead, Hesbon.
Yeah. Oh, Hesbon is muted. Sorry, Hesbon. Take it again.
Yes, when you get into a blended family, as we agreed previously, there are those rules and regulations that you create and you agree upon with your partner how you're going to handle such issues. So there's what we normally call bonding time. You as a parent, you are supposed to have that bonding time with these kids, with your own kids and with the kids of the other partner on your own. That will create that kid to be able to understand that you care about them. Once you involve that aspect of care, and these kids understand that you are not really punishing them, but you are trying to correct their mistake, they should be able to respect the decision and be able to conform. Ellie?
Great, Hesbon, and I agree with you. However, things keep changing over time, and I want now to ask ourselves, is there a possibility that these relationships can actually work? Nyokabi, do we have a chance that these relationships can work or thrive?
Yes, actually, early statistics show that 30% and 35% of these blended families actually do work. I personally know 2 blended families that are working and they're thriving, and one particular family, I really admire them. One-on-one interactions with them, I really admire how they work together and how they relate to the children. And in this particular one family, sorry to mention this personal experience, the children for the man, or the children who belong to the man, are older. They are teenagers. They're actually in their 20s and 19. The first one is 20 and the other one is 19. And then now they have one child that they have adopted, a daughter from one of their the sister of the husband who passed on. They adopted that child. And then this lady had come in with her own child, who is also a teenager, who is 13, 14 there. And then they have their own 2 children who they have had together as a couple. So you can see it's literally a beautiful blended family, and they are working. And when you go to that home, the thing that I really admire about that family is that you can't tell which child belongs to who. And unless you know them intimately as a family, or you know their history and where they are coming from, you can never tell that it's a blended family. So it's about you as a family. And by the way, did I mention that both partners from previous relationships are alive and they participate in the bringing up of these children? I see the older sons going to visit their mom in the US, and I see the daughter going to visit her dad here in Kenya, and it's done so well. It's admirable. So yes, these relationships early are working. In fact, statistics are showing that 35% of these families do survive, and they do work, and they are beautiful marriages.
Great. So then, how do we build the love and cohesion, Hesbon, towards a successful or thriving blended family? And then I'll bring in Zena.
It's interesting to note that the basic factor that will make sure that this blended family is a thriving blended family is the word love. If the couples that are involved in the family are able to show love unto each other and be able to commit unto each other and be able to communicate openly and truthfully, then the kids will be able to emulate the parents, and we shall be having a well-blended family. Ellie?
Okay, that's good one. Zena, you want to add something onto this? Utafanyaje ili kwamba uhakikishe kwamba sasa haya mapenzi yananoga katika hizi familia mbili ambazo zimekuja na kutimiza familia moja?
Unajua, unapoamua kuingia kwenye familia ambapo kwamba ilishaanza, unaona, ni lazima ufanye nini? Ujue mpangilio wao kwanza kabla hujaingia. Na mimi huambia wanawake mwanzo kabisa, ukimpata mwanamume ama kama wewe ni mwanamume ukimpata mwanamke, kitu cha kwanza muulize kama ana nini, ana watoto, kama aliwahi oa ama aliwahi olewa. Kitu cha pili, una watoto. Ufai kumficha mwanamume ama mwanamke kama una watoto. Ukishamwambia hivyo, muache mwenzako afanye nini? Ajiweke karibu na wale watoto, waelewane, yani wajenge ule urafiki. Unajua ni bonding ni nyingine ya maana sana. For example, mimi nimelelewa na stepfather. Na yule stepfather hungelijua kama si babangu mzazi ama ni nini. Yani kila mtu alikuwa akijua kwamba yule ni babangu mwenye kufanya nini? Mwenye kunizaa. Yule mzee yani alituweka sote pamoja, akatulea, and before muoe mamangu alikuwa akija nyumbani pale, tunakaa tunapiga story, unaona, anatuweka yani tuna feel comfortable. Tukaja tukajuana naye vizuri, akaja akatuambia nini, unajua nini, unaonaje nikiwa baba yako, unaona. You see, yani unaambia mtoto yani vitu vidogo vidogo, yani unaketi na mtoto unamuelezea, mimi ningependa niwe baba yako ama mimi ningependa niwe mama yako, unaonaje nikiwa hivyo, unaona. Then baadaye yani tafuta njia mzuri ya kuongea na mtoto vizuri, mtaelewana, mtakuja mtakuwa sawa. At the end of the day utafanya nini? Utakuta yani yale mapenzi yanazidi kunawiri, mnakuwa vizuri, mnaelewana kabisa. Lakini ukijaribu kuninino kunyamaza tu ati sijui ati mimi nishaoa, mimi ndo babako, mimi ndo mamako, nini, huwezi elewana na yule mtoto. For example, mimi ni kichwa ngumu, Eli. Moja mimi wasifichi. Na ukinikujia tu ati mimi ndo babako, mmemoja nini, lazima ufanye nini, uniheshimu, ufanye hivi na hivi. Sijakataa, nitakuheshimu, lakini ndani sitakupenda, ujue. Sitakupenda. Mimi kama mwanao sitakupenda. Kwa nini? Umenikuja na ule ukali, ukaniambia lazima nifanye nini, lazima nikuheshimu, lazima nijue mimi ni nini? Mimi ni mwanao na wewe ni mume wa mamangu ama nini na nini. Unaona? Hapo sitakupenda hata chembe, hata nukta, yani sitakupenda kabisa. Sasa lazima unijie na ule na ule uzuri. Si ati kunibembeleza ama nini, ama ati kunidekeza hapana. Njoo. Na kama ni mzazi mzuri, umepata mimi ninasoma, bado niko skuli, njoo niulize una matatizo gani kule shuleni, unapata nini kule shuleni, walimu wako vipi, subject gani inafanya nini inakulemea kule shuleni. Jaribu at least kunifunza pale, ni encourage, niambie unajua nini, walimu wanakuaga tu hivi na hivi, walimu ni wazuri ama hivi na hivi. Unaona, mambo kama hayo yanafanya mtoto afanye nini, akupende. Lakini umekaa tu na mtoto pale, ikifika jioni, wewe umetoka kazini, umekuja nyumbani jioni, unakuja Zena, umefanya hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi, fanya hivi na hivi, kwa nini umefanya hivi, kidogo kofi, kidogo, huwezi elewana na mtoto.
Okay, tumekuelewa Zena, na kidogo nafikiri tumekupoteza, but you get the point what Zena is saying, and it's very, very important. So we have 5 minutes to top of the hour, and I would like to have a final commentaries from the comment section. You want us to go through them? Sorry, let's have you come out. Sorry, go ahead.
There's one particular comment I had seen. I don't know if you can highlight it for me, from Omboi Gitau.
Boy guitar. Yes. Let me just get.
Yes,
That is an interesting one.
yes, there was one that was very interesting, and I would like to respond to it because I mentioned something about love, and I think she's talking, okay, I try my best to have positive thoughts about getting married again, but when it comes to my son, thank you for highlighting, when it comes to my son, and knowing very well that no man will ever love him, excuse me, like his own father would. I want to mention something, excuse me, to Amboi. It's easy to get caught in that space of trying to protect your son, trying to look for the biological father's love. And it's not easy to find that. It's not easy to find a man who will love your son like their biological father. And it's unrealistic to expect somebody to do that. And the best way to deal with that kind of a situation is to put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, if you found a man who has a daughter or a son, would you be able to love them the same way you love your own son? Because that kind of an expectation sets the relationship up for failure. What you need to do, Wamboi, is to accept the love that this man is willing to give your son. It may not be the biological love, but it's a special love. He can decide to love him as his adoptive son. He can decide to develop his own relationship and they become buddies and friends, that they are more of buddies than they are father to son. And he'll still be a good role model to this boy. So my encouragement to you, Wamboi Gitau, is that give chance. Give chance to this person and allow them to prove to you. Give them an opportunity to betray that trust that you have given them. Do not judge somebody before you have allowed them a chance. Very few people can be able to actually equate love of biological children to, and by the way, to accompany that, even our own biological parents. If you grew up in a big family, like mine, we were 5. We were not so many, we were 5. But in those 5 children, I want to say that there's one particular child who was loved mostly by our mother. So we call her by the name of that child, Ellie, because she always favored him.
You want to take a break in your cabin? You can take your water, please. You can take your water. Take your time. Don't worry. We can wait for you. Hezbon.
Yes.
Blended families are able to work. That's what we've identified, and it's becoming the normal thing to do. So, if you were to meet a single lady with children, is it something you're willing to do as a person?
Definitely, sure enough, daily, I will consider a blended family. Personally, I got kids.
Yeah.
And I would also like my kids to be loved in the equal way I'm going to love somebody's kids. So if I'm going to stay with their mother, I should be able to reassure these kids that the situations might have changed, but love and care will still remain love and care. Okay?
Yeah. Love and care. The greatest fear of every single parent, and by single I mean a parent that has children from a previous relationship, it's getting into a relationship, and that's something that Wambui has highlighted here. And they feel like probably they get shortchanged. However, things are showing that there's possibility to actually start a new relationship and have a flourishing one, just like Nyokabi said. So Nyokabi, I hope you've been able to settle down.
Today is not my night, Ellie.
I don't know who you went to see, because were you in Kisi by any chance?
No.
Then you're okay. It is just the weather.
So I was talking about we are 5 in our family, and we have this one particular child who is favored. Actually, he's our second born. And we refer to our mom by his name because she always favored him. She always thought, so it's possible for one parent to love one child more than the other. So let's not sit on these high horses expecting the other partner who is coming in to equally love our children equally. We grew up in families where we know there's one particular sibling of yours that is loved by your mother or by your father more than the others. It's about personality, it's about interactions. So it's good to be human as well. So give chance to that person to love this person, to love this child the way they choose to love this child, and to love them. Let's just give chance, let's give opportunity, and let's allow the natural way to take it. What we don't want is that thing Hesbon talked about, over favorism and outright just disrespect and mistreatment of the children. But so long as they're loving the child and they're loving them their own way and they're treating them fairly, they're not giving their own yogurt and not giving you as anything. They're not cooking sausages and saying sausages are for my children. Nyinyi watoto wa sijui ni wa nani, amkuli sausages hapa kwa hii nyumba. So long as that's not the scenario we are having, let's give room for this person to develop their own unique relationship and to develop their own special love for this child, and let's accept that and respect it so that the blended families can work.
Back to where we started. Do we love the partner first before the child, or the child before the partner? Quick answer, both of you.
Chicken or the egg? Who first, the egg or the chicken?
Hesbon?
I think if you love the partner, the kids will also find that love trickling down to them. Because if I really love my lady, I will also care enough to love the kids in the same way I love my lady.
So penda ng'ombe na maziwa yake ama na ndama.
Kabisa.
Great discussion we're having tonight. Let me just send out a few shout outs to everybody that is here. Wamboi Gitao, Diana Nafuna, Kipro Roda, thank you so much for your contributions. Wamboi Gitao once again, Jacquel Williams, and this is what she said earlier on in case you missed it out. We have Shix Jamais Shadows. That's a very interesting, almost French name. Thank you so much for being on the cast tonight. Lillian Okendo, I tried to send you the link. However, I think you didn't receive it because we are not connected on the link. So I hope somebody will be able to make it. We have Nancy Matilda, who was there, Lydia Buyema, and of course, Brian Emali, and every single person that made their contributions count tonight. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much, Binti Mariam, Serena Wayne, Mariana Okaya, and every single person that was here tonight. It has been a pleasure hosting you, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, these are discussions we need to continue having them even outside the live cast. Keep sending your comments in the comment section. Remember the hashtags that we put out earlier on, and of course I'll stream them back on screen. That is hashtag Thriving Blended Families Art in Art, responding to life, because we want to respond to life positively despite all the challenges that each and everyone is facing. That being said, every Sunday I have a hangout session for you where we discuss various topics, including conservation. And tomorrow I'll be hosting Makori Beryl, and we'll be discussing about the pangolin. Very interesting mammal that you need to learn about. Every Tuesday we are in the men's den, of course, from 9:30 p.m. Kenyan time, where we discuss men issues. And on Wednesday is the ladies' night, and of course relationship, where Nyokabi Kamau and I come to bring you matters that really matter. Make sure to catch those casts. And tomorrow, of course, I'll be hanging out with the MC Ashi at 5 p.m. Kenyan time on his YouTube channel. Be sure to watch, because you just want to know how to get to the land of chocolates. See you then. It's been a pleasure hosting you. My name is Likuyani Eli. And of course, we had on the very top the gentleman.
Hesbon,
yes.
Yeah.
And of course, relationship coach, Nyokabi Kamau. So in case you enjoyed this, share the link. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube page, which is The Arts in Heart. That is the YouTube channel. And of course, the YouTube, our Facebook page, which is The Arts in Heart. Nyokabi Kamau, or at Nyokabi Kamau on Facebook, at Hesbon Umngala on Facebook. Until next time, I've been your host, Eli Lee.